I am one of the last baby boomers. I was born on the tail end of the post-war fertility bump that has, for the last 45 years, been largely responsible for the state our nation is currently in. And I am deeply, profoundly ashamed of what I and my fellow boomers have achieved. I remember standing up in grade school and saying, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." All my classmates stood with me. They took the same pledge as I did, daily. My brother and sisters took it. My father and mother took it. They taught it to me. Now my children know it, but not well. I taught it to them, but the school that they attend doesn't reinforce it. Virtually none of their classmates can recite it from beginning to end, though the pledge is itself quite short. None of them can recite the Gettysburg Address, or the preamble to the Constitution, or know all of the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. And it's our fault. We have abdicated responsibility for teaching good citizenship to our children. We have turned it over to an increasingly socialist state and washed our hands of our parental and patriotic duty. And we are reaping the harvest of our ill-sown crop. I was raised to venerate the Constitution. As a soldier, I swore to defend it, and now I stand back impotently and watch while the people that you and I sent to Congress, systematically and deliberately dismantle all of our cherished rights and privileges, the rights of American citizenship, only to find that they are being replaced by the very things I fought so hard to overcome. There are, according to the Communist Manifesto, 10 planks upon which true communism is formed. Virtually all of these planks are in place today in the United States, and that really pisses me off. But what pisses me off even more is the fact that the vast majority of my fellow citizens have not a clue of what's been done to them, and will be completely blindsided when the final solution comes into play. And I use these words, final solution, advisedly. For as certain as I am that our republic is dying, I can also see what is stepping in to fill the void. Let's play Jeopardy for a minute. I'll give you a definition, and you try to guess what it is. I'll give you a few seconds, and then I'll tell you what the word defines. The definition is not my own, but from Webster's dictionary. Look it up when I'm through. Ready? Political ideologies for 10. A political philosophy, movement, or regime that exalts nation and often race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader. Severe economic and social regimentation, forcible suppression of opposition. You have 15 seconds. Time's up. The question was, what is fascism? And I'll tell you what fascism is. It's what we're getting with increasing globalization of everything we once held dear. The United States was once the greatest educator in the world. Now, more than a third of the kids graduating from high school can't read well enough to fill in a job application. The Department of Education has taken care of that for us. And what are they trying to do now? Why, they would like to unify our curricula with that of Europe. The United States was once the most industrially mighty nation on the earth. We were so strong that we came from a position of crippling defeat to occupying the home of our attackers in 3.5 years. Now all our manufacturing is done in China, or Korea, or Mexico because it's cheaper. Meanwhile, our people lose their jobs and their homes. Families disintegrate and our society collapses. And why? Because it serves the corporate good. We are, right now, in the process of transferring our government from the representatives that we elected to a parcel of rogues and multinational corporations. And I need you to pay attention to this because it's very important. There is a fundamental difference between being governed by our elected officials and being governed by a corporation. And it is this. Elected officials look out for the interests of their constituents. The corporation looks out for the interests of its shareholders. As far as the corporation is concerned, we are property. We provide them profit And that's all we are. As a group, we have a value to them, but as individuals, we have none. I believe I may have just misstated something just now. I said that elected officials look out for the interests of their constituents. What I should have said is that they should look out for the interests of their constituents. But one of our problems is that they have instead been looking after their own interests and have been feeding at the trough of corporate America. We have been sold out, sold down the river, betrayed by our own government, and left hung out to dry while they sit back and count their 30 pieces of silver. And it's our own damn fault. We took our eye off the ball and missed the swing. We ignored the warnings of hundreds of patriots who stood up and told us what was happening. We ignored the advice of our founding fathers and have, as a result, lost many of the freedoms they died to secure for us. Now, I do not claim to have the solutions to all of our problems, but then I did not cause all of them by myself. We all did. And we are all, individually and collectively, responsible. So what are we going to do? We have an election coming up, and there's still time to fix a lot of what's wrong. But this is the 11th hour. It is now time to fish or cut bait. More to the point, it's time to put up or shut up. As your fellow American, I challenge each and every one of you to take your Congress critters to task. Examine their voting records and ask painful questions. Ask why they voted to violate the law, because all but a very small minority have done, repeatedly, and some daily. Tell them to do their jobs or start looking for another, and then back up your words with action. Find a candidate that stands for America with a capital A. Find one who believes the law is to be obeyed, not circumvented or avoided, or changed to suit the whim of the government against the wishes and interests of the governed. Kick the bastards out and elect new ones who will do what they're told, who will do what we, the American people, tell them to do. We have a sacred duty to the people who died that we may be free. And I, for one, stand by the words of Thomas Jefferson, who said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness." Friends, I believe it's time we exercised our franchise and actively moved to restore our government to that state in which it was formed. You still have the right to vote. I adjure you, vote. Vote for those who will return us to where we should be. Only vote for those who support liberty, who defend the Constitution, who obey the will of the people rather than the will of the stockholders. We've run out of time. In the words of my crusty old grandfather, we must now either piss or get off the pot. So I leave it in your hands. Open your eyes. Look around at the society that you and I have helped to create and do something. Vote. May God bless us and the United States of America. Thanks for listening.